Roman teeth, robots in a Jesus pose, a tree of life, a serpent, an immaculate conception? These are just some of the very heavy-handed mythological and religious references in the fantastic sci-fi series Raised by Wolves. Hey everyone, I'm Brent the Middleman, your middle-aged, middle manager in Middle America in a midlife crisis, here today with another video, which will be the first in a series of videos analyzing some of the numerous religious references we've seen in HBO's Raised by Wolves. With only 2 episodes left of the second season, I thought it would be fun to take a closer look at all of the references to mythology and religion to see if it can help us learn more about what is actually going on in this crazy fake world, and maybe help you enjoy the show even more. So spoiler alert for up to episode 4 of season 2, and I'll be referencing a lot of the companion materials that is canon to the show. So hold on to your serpents, here we go. I think the best place to start is with the dominant religious group in the world of the show, the Mithraics. In the show, the Mithraic are a religious faction dedicated to the sun god Sol that rose to power on Earth in the 22nd century. They were opposed by the atheist, which instigated the religious war that left Earth uninhabitable. The Mithraic defeated the atheists by 2145, due in large part to the use of necromancers, which were far superior to the atheists' own androids and other weapons. Even though they won, Earth was left on the verge of ecological collapse. So in order to save humanity from extinction, the Mithraic constructed the Ark of Heaven to transport 1,000 colonists to Kepler 22b. We have all seen the show and know what ultimately happens to the Ark, but what you may not know is that Mithraicism was an actual real-life religion. The Mithraic get their name from a real-world ancient religious cult of the god Mithras. The god Mitra originally came from ancient Persia, or modern-day Iran. At the height of the Roman Empire, he began to be worshipped as Mithras in a Roman mystery cult. The cult became very popular, especially with soldiers. The sun god Sol was originally a separate god, but Mithras was often worshipped together with Sol Invictus, the unconquerable sun. In Raised by Wolves, the two gods have been blended into one, and the Mithraists, or Mithraic, worship a single god called Sol, who is associated with the light. This is why the Mithraic characters wear sun emblems and sun pendants. The Mithraic considered all non-believers to be impure. In order to purify oneself and formally join the religion, both converts and those raised in the faith were required to undergo a baptism ceremony where they proclaimed their acceptance of Sol before a cleric and other witnesses. During the religious war, the Mithraic held a pronounced technological advantage over the atheists, most clearly signified by their manufacture and usage of the necromancers. Androids such as necromancers were powered by dark photon technology, which remained poorly understood even by the Mithraic. According to Mithraic dogma, ancient Mithraic scriptures were encrypted with a highly advanced scientific formula that were passed down from the heavens at the dawn of man. It is claimed that the Mithraic believers of the 22nd century decoded these formulas and followed them to create new technologies and devices, such as androids and the arks. However, the atheists dispute this explanation as Mithraic propaganda. If dark photon technology and other innovations truly were decoded from ancient Mithraic scriptures rather than discovered independently by humans, it is possible this development is what allowed the organized Mithraic religion of the 22nd century to become so influential and widespread in such a short amount of time. The people who first uncovered these formulas likely interpreted them as tangible proof that the ancient Mithraic religion was divine truth, and this attracted a modern religious following that eclipsed all other existing human religions. We see the Mithraic believing in a number of mysteries and prophecies that seem connected to Kepler 22b, since we've seen Mithraic sun symbols, pentagonal temples, and ancient cave paintings that tie directly into the Mithraic religion. One of the main prophecies is that of an orphan boy in an empty land becoming king. Paul summarizes the prophecy as an orphan boy in an empty land will wield the sword forged in Sol's light, and with it he will lead his people to the tree of knowledge, and all who eat from it will be made pure, and there they will build a city of peace, and the prophet will be made its king. The knife Marcus had was forged by Mother using melted Sol sun pendants and her heat breath. So technically, it was forged in Sol's light, which does seem tied into the dark photon energy in Mother and on Kepler. There are a number of orphan boys on the show, mostly thanks to Mother in Season 1, with the main three being Marcus, Paul, and Campion. Although it's debatable on whether Campion is an orphan or not, although we could see Mother and Father die, which would definitely make Campion an orphan at that point. Last we saw of the sword, Decima had sliced up her android daughter Vril and then dropped it down the cliff. From the trailers, we see that Vril survives, so there's a very good chance that she brings the sword to Campion since they seem to have a budding romance. So now the orphan boy in an empty land has the sword, but we still need a tree of life with food growing from it that everyone can eat from. But we may have some clues about that already. Early in Season 2, Paul found a small pentagonal box with symbols on it that he believes contains the seeds to grow the tree of life. They are not able to open it, and the boys believe they need a strong laser to do the job. I wonder if the sword will be strong enough to open it. But even if it's not, Mother now has her eyes back and would certainly be powerful enough to crack it open. So now we have the orphan boy Campion, the sword, Mother's soul pendant knife, and the seeds for the tree of life. We also know that in the tropical zone of the planet, food seems to just spring up from the planet, and we even saw fruit growing from the ancient android Father brought back to life. I think this part was the biggest clue, and that this android will become the grandmother character referenced in the casting announcements. So perhaps Campion will use the sword to open the box to plant the seeds to grow the tree, and glowing grandma will fertilize the tree, making it grow fruit. But how will this fruit make people pure? This ties into my theory that androids evolved on Kepler and were not a human invention. I think that when the humans eat this fruit, that they will de-evolve, which to the androids of Kepler is the purest form of humanity. Yes, I know that de-evolution is not a thing in real life, but either are necromancers and arcs that can travel to other planets, so lighten up. In Season 1, the Campion Sturgis that Mother talks to in the simulation, which seems like it is the same voice that was speaking to Marcus and Campion and Paul, and who helps her get knocked up with the snake baby, he tells her that no matter how hard she tries to protect the humans, they will always destroy themselves. So does this android, and yes, I believe it is some kind of higher order android that evolved out of Kepler and its dark photons, much like in real life humans evolved out of Earth, so does this android want to devolve humans in order to help them in some weird, twisted robot way? Or maybe humans did create this AI and programmed it to help humans, and now it helps humanity by making sure it never evolves. I'm not sure, but I think I'm onto something. But that's the voice from Season 1 on the other side of the planet. Season 2 takes place in the tropical zone, which is protected by an electromagnetic field that the voice cannot penetrate. What I'm thinking is that there were two factions of androids, either evolved from Kepler or created by humans, and then they evolved on their own, and then they disagreed about how to handle the human problem. The ones that wanted to help humanity created the electromagnetic field during some ancient war where serpents were sent through holes on both sides of the planet to fight each other, and the serpents could even be the physical form of the Kepler evolved androids. This is why we saw skeletons and holes everywhere in Season 1, and those whirlpools in Season 2, which are the holes under the acid ocean. I go over all the other signs of a war in my other theory videos, and I'll post those links at the end. So this EMF side may have been the ones to send humans off to Earth as depicted in the cave drawings in an effort to save them. But the Season 1 side may have sent the Mithraic scriptures to get the humans to destroy themselves again and come back to Kepler once they evolved enough on Earth. So a very long game of three-dimensional chess played by creatures that may be capable of living forever. After all, we just saw a million-year-old android brought back to life. So they grow the tree and eat from it and devolve. Final part of the prophecy is that the prophet will become king. I think we saw this king in Season 1, the hooded figure who parkoured out of the cave. The prophecy, like most prophecies, is a trick. The orphan boy will become king of a bunch of devolved human monsters who no longer destroy themselves. I know, this part is kind of a stretch, but I'm trying to tie it all together. Or maybe these remaining humans who don't devolve will be the ones who try to send humans off to another planet or back to Earth to get away from the androids on Kepler, keeping this whole cycle going. They keep themselves alive by ingesting necromancer blood like Otho and Marcus did, and maybe the blood is only safe when the necromancer is pregnant, and that's why they trap them in the birthing boxes. Alright, I'm gonna cut myself off and see myself out because this video has now devolved into a wild theory video. But I hope you learned something about the Mithraic that maybe you didn't know, and how their history and their prophecy gives us a lot of clues as to where things may be headed. As always, please leave your theories in the comments or your thoughts on my theories. I definitely love talking about it with you guys. I'll be posting more videos on the religious symbolism in the show, so if you have something you'd like me to do a deep dive on, let me know in the comments too. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss my next video, and please hit the like button if you enjoyed this one. Once again, I'm Brent the Middleman, and I'll see you next time.